Hello, and welcome back to the Just Begin podcast. It's Melly here.
And Dorian.
It's both of us here, and today's episode, as you see from the title, we're gonna just kind of go into our relationship, our story, if you would say, and how it all started. I felt like it was important to kind of tell this story since Dorian will be on the podcast more. I feel like it's important for you all to kind of know a little bit more about our background, about us, how we work well, and how and why we work so well together, and just a little bit of like our story, because I love it.
And what we've learned along the way.
Yes. And so, okay. I feel like, how should we start this? Should we first talk about how we met and get into that? Or you want to talk about where you were before you met me mentally?
Sure, I can.
You're like, oh, I don't know if I want to do that.
I can kind of preface that, I suppose.
Okay, I'll preface mine too.
Yeah, so I had, moved down to Miami, and like before I left Michigan, several months before I left Michigan, I had gotten out of a relationship that just like messed with me and just made me like, I'm just gonna stick to myself for a while. Like, I'm not gonna seek out women at all. Like, I literally kept him, like, I did the opposite of what most dudes moving down to Miami would do. And I literally, like, just stayed in my lane, stuck to myself, and figured myself out, which I highly recommend. Mm-hmm. A lot of people don't do that. And that's why I think a lot of people jump into relationships that just fail or drive them crazy or whatever. So I was down here for, it was like 2+ years that I didn't even like attempt to talk to girls. Like,
I don't know if I believe him fully. He did tell me
she can not believe it all she wants, but it's true. And you can ask my best friends. It's true. Like, I really didn't. I didn't pursue anything. I didn't talk to girls. Like, it sounds weird, but it's just it's just where I was. And like, I don't know, like I needed time to like just be me, be alone. I do like being like, I like my alone time. And
he for sure does.
She's figured that out, but
which we'll get into that.
It might be frustrating at times, but I like my alone time, and I like being by myself as well. I love you, but I like being by myself at times.
I love you too, which is fine that you like to be alone. I think we can get into that a little more deeper. But I think it's important for my astrology people. Let me give you our signs. I'm a Sagittarius, my sun, and then my rising is Virgo, and my moon is Aries. Dorian is a Gemini sun. His rising is Leo, and your moon, I literally can't remember, but he doesn't even know it either.
You're supposed to know all that shit. I don't know
his moon, but whatever. His rising is Leo, and his
all I know is I'm a Gemini.
That's a Gemini.
That's my main focus.
That's his main thing. And before meeting Dorian, I was also the same thing. Like, I had talked to different guys, and really, like, the main problem with me, I just kept getting screwed over and over. And I was like, you know what? I'm too busy. I was doing my event business at the time, so I was just really focused on me as well, and didn't have a boyfriend at all, or any boyfriend for a year plus, even until I met Dorian. And I signed up for Bumble, with my friend, and we were like, let's just do it, like whatever. I was like, I don't want to go on any of these apps, but apparently that's the only way to meet people, because at the school I went to, I didn't really like anyone. I was like, I don't even want to talk to anyone here. And I really was like, I don't want anyone. Even when I was in school, I was like, I don't really like the people that go to school. So I was like, I want someone who's like doing their own thing and like is entrepreneur of some sort. And so I was like, whatever, like let's sign up for Bumble. And then randomly, I remember I was at a meeting actually, a lunch, and I was with everyone there, and then I just like went on Bumble. It was like not a very good place during a meeting, but I went on it, and I was like waiting for everyone to get there, and I was like, let me just scroll real quick, and then I see handsome, ginger, vegan, 10 miles from you, something like that. And then I read his hand.
You remember
like,
the mileage?
Yeah.
My God.
I'm like, this far from me? I'm like, what? And it said like North Miami or whatever, because you were in
North Bay Village at the time.
So it's showing me North Miami, his beautiful. And another thing I should say is, since I was young, he doesn't believe this, is that since I was young, I would always tell my mom and everyone that I knew that I was going to marry a ginger man, and that it was my life's goal that I was going to marry a ginger man. I don't know who it was going to be, but, and I never even met a ginger guy, so you're the first one. And I never met any because I live in Miami. First off, that, and then anyways, but he was a double. You were a unicorn. You are a unicorn. I was like vegan, ginger, and all the things, and then he seemed so sweet, and so I was like, you know what, and then we automatically matched. So I guess he already saw me, and so we automatically matched. And then I remember what I wrote. I was like, cool to see another vegan around here. Well, so
Crazy.
I guess it's important. I think we said this in the first podcast we did together. I asked you like, what were you thinking? But we can say it again. What were you thinking?
Well, kind of similar. Being in Miami, I had been, I needed to break my habit of being around white girls. And so not that race is the main factor, but just like saw this cute Spanish girl, again, vegan, and just like, I don't know, had a glowing energy about her. So.
And my profile pic, it was a yellow shirt. So that's my color, if you remember.
That is your color. Color.
Well, yeah, I think I had a yellow shirt on. I'm pretty sure I did.
To be honest, I don't fully remember the
pictures.
He
doesn't remember all the things, but I do, because I'm a weirdo. But I remember his photo.
But it was like I had hopped on Bumble because I had no social life at the time. Like I was living with one other guy in North Bay Village, and like literally only hung out with the dudes that I worked with, and that was it. Like I really didn't talk to anyone, so I was like, fuck it, I'll just hop on Bumble.
Your grind mode, just work.
Yeah, trying to not be broke, trying to figure life out. But it just came to a point where I was like, you know what, like I'm ready to just see see who's out there, and if the right person comes, then awesome. But it's like it was probably like within the first 2 days that I was on there that I met you.
Yeah, I was waiting, just right there, ready, waiting for him, ready. I guess an important thing to preface, I think, if you are someone that you seem like you're ready to get into a relationship or whatever, I think it's definitely important to take the time to like be with yourself, learn what you want. Another thing too is I do think it's important to date people and learn, and all those past experiences that you'll have, and you'll know like, okay, that type of person I hate, and you get to learn from these lessons. Because I mean, if me and Dorian would have been together from like high school, it would have never worked. I mean, maybe it would have, those relationships do.
That doesn't even matter.
Yeah, it's whatever. But I think I'm so happy that I met Dorian at that phase of life. Because even when I was in high school, I knew, like, I know that I'm made for, like, more than just whoever I meet here. And I was like, I know that there's another love out there for me. Like, that's what I need, and I know I'm going to find it. And I think I was always, like, intuitive about that and very specific. Mm-hmm. And even at the time, like, it may have not made sense. But I think that's, like, an important thing to state. It's like, you have time. And even, I mean, I'm a Dorian, I guess you would say young, really, because I was 21.
Yeah, and that's not to say, so, like my 2 years alone, like, that's still, like, that's not even a ton of time. Like, I just happened to find the right person that stuck. And, like, it's just, if it goes longer, like, don't get down on yourself. Like, it's not, I could have gone, like, if I didn't meet her, I could have gone longer and I was fine. Like, don't put pressure on, like, needing a timeline for anything. Like, it's, you know, we did meet fairly young, but you could be 30 and still not find your person, and it's all good. Like,
for sure. I think, like, that's a key takeaway from this is, like, be patient. And I know a lot of other, like, single girls and I learn, like, I hear what they're going through, and, like, I can only give so much advice now because I've been with Dorian now for 4 years, so I'm, like, no longer in that mindset of, like, you know, like, oh, like, the dating scene and all those things. And even nowadays, like, it's even crazier what people have to go through to date. So I'm, like, so happy I didn't have to go through that.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I guess to go back to where we were, we met on Bumble, like we've already said. And I remember our first date, I really thought we went to go to Holy Vegan Kitchen. And I was so freaking nervous. And because that was, like, the first, like, virtual date that I've ever been on. And I was like, I don't know what the fuck to do. I was like,
yeah, same.
I had to give my location.
I had never really, I had never really done that before either.
And so I was like, this is the first, like, let me just go. And so I'm going, and I picked a place that I was familiar with, and it was your first time going there. And so I was always going to this restaurant. So I was like, I think a good thing is, like, pick a place that you're familiar with. And so for me, I picked Holy. And then Dorian came over to it, and then whatever, we went there. And I remember thinking afterwards, I was like, I don't know if he likes me. And that was just, like, the number one thing I thought in my head.
I think male or female, that's the reaction that most people have when they meet me. I don't know, like, I'm sorry, but it's just, like, how I am. It's like there's a test run period, and you can't read me that well. I've heard that from more than just you.
Yeah.
Like,
I guess reading you that's a good word to say, like, a good way to say it. Because I was, like, really, like, I was sitting there and I was like, okay. And I was like, I don't know. But, like, we had a good conversation. We stayed to the end.
Yeah, no, we had a good conversation.
We, like, it was very easy to talk to you. And it was, like, an easy, nice date. I just remember leaving and I was like, I don't know. Because I guess I'm so used to, like, the men that were, like, so extra, and they were, like, trying to, like, those guys really try to kiss you on their first date or touch you on the first date, and you're just like, whoa, like, I literally just met you, like, get away from me. And he was so respectful, and I was like, what? I wasn't used to that. And I was like, wow, okay. And which is so sad to even say that, but the girls listening will understand. But that was another reason why I liked him too. I was like, okay. And then after that, though, I was so busy with work. We were speaking, but we didn't see each other.
Oh, I went through the same thing in the first month of, like, does she even like me? Because, like, I would try and line something up with you to meet up again, and it was like, you had something to do. And I was like, I don't know if this girl's, like, making up excuses or, like, I don't know.
And that was only, and this is, like, another learning thing, is communication is key. Because I remember, I don't know if you ever, like, asked, but I was like, I think there was a point where you were going to maybe confirm, like, do you even, like, want to do this? Like, am I annoying you? But I was like, I remember I went to Demi Lovato's concert, and I was in Miami, and you're like, okay, let's hang out. And I was like, okay, like, and I told myself, I was like, I'm going to hang out with him. I really like him. I don't know why I'm, like, pressuring it. I think I was just really nervous to, like, actually go on another date. And like, because I was like, okay, now it's gonna be real. I'm gonna see him again. Okay, am I gonna get my hopes up and all those things? And I don't want to get heartbroken. So whatever, I was like, it's time to just take the plunge. And I think that's like another big thing is like just taking the risk. That's what dating is. And then we went on our second date.
Yeah.
And yeah.
And it got easier from there, ultimately. Like,
yeah.
After the second one, it was like, okay, I guess she does kind of like me enough to meet up with me again. So
yeah, after the second one, we saw each other it was like, okay, the first meeting is like always a little awkward.
Mm-hmm.
Then the second one, that second one though is because we actually went on a date and we like were in Wynwood and we walked around.
Mm-hmm.
We went to eat. Like our first day was we just went to go meet each other and eat. And I think it's like kind of awkward at first because you've never had a conversation with this person.
Mm-hmm.
So you're just eating with them. So at the second one, we had to like walk around, be a little more, it was like easier.
Yeah.
I think that's like a good tip as well.
Mm-hmm.
But, and then from there, kept going on dates. And then I remember I asked him, because I've been played many times. So I was like, okay, I need to find out. I was like, do you want to, I was like, do you like me? He's like, of course. And I'm like, are we gonna like do this? Are you only gonna speak to me? I'm like, I just need to know that now before I get my hopes up a little more. Because I was already in deep. I was like, okay, I really like this guy. I have to find out if he likes me just as much as I like him. And you were like, yeah. So what, maybe do you remember what you were thinking when I asked you that? Or like, kind of, were you even thinking that for yourself? Like,
I mean, I was already
you can tell
like,
I'm not talking to other people. I was obsessed with him.
Yeah, I mean, I was already in the mindset like I'm going for it. Like I really liked you and wanted to see it through, keep going, and I'm not always the best with like confronting the issue like that, like she did. But
yeah. I guess and now that I've been with you for so long, it definitely makes sense now.
I'm more of a just kind of go with the flow. If it's feeling good, it's feeling good, and we're on. Like that's it. I don't know.
You were like, yeah, of course.
Like duh. I was just like,
yeah.
duh. Like what do you think we're doing? But
and I'm like, I need confirmation.
Sometimes I don't know. It was pretty simple in my head, but I understand the female brain is like. There's a lot going on
like,
up there. So.
You need to give me confirmation. But I think that's stuff I've learned from him as well, though, is to like not be so controlling. But I think that's just like a character trait. But I remember asking him that. And then from there, I was like, okay, like we're exclusively just us. And then we kept growing our relationship and meeting more often and all that. And then I'm not sure where to jump to at this point. Like, do we jump to when we first moved into each other, moved in, or any
cat hairs flying around? Sorry. Yeah, sure. I guess we can bring. Speaking of cat hairs, jump to our move in and.
Yes. So. A lot of people, this is where you could mess up. We moved in with each other early on in our relationship simply because there was it seemed like the right financial idea. We're like, yeah, sure. We were already like let's just move in with each other. He was going to move out of his lease. He was already moving and my lease was going to end soon. And I knew myself that I was like, I really want to be with him. And like, I know that this is going to be like a long-term situation.
And I knew that too. And again, like I think very simply about this kind of stuff. And it's like, I don't know. It just felt right. And if it feels right, I'm going to do it. Yeah.
It felt very like natural and easy of like, this is what I want. And I know that I'm going to be happy with this situation. I feel like if you do go in, if you have this opportunity to move in with your significant other, I feel like your gut feeling will let you know if it's a right idea or not. And if you already have like this gut feeling of like panic, probably shouldn't do it just yet.
Yeah, if you have any second thoughts,
Yeah.
don't do it.
Don't do it.
But for us, it was just like, I don't know. Like, we were just like,
We were in the car and you're like,
I was like figuring out, I had to leave where I was living, and I was like trying to figure out my next move, and it just made sense. Like, I don't know, like it didn't really bother me in my head at all. It was just like,
and then like that same week we were looking at places.
yeah.
So it was pretty simple for that part. And then after that, we've been living with each other now for 3 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean that, like, we were just talking about this earlier too. It's like that first, like, really the first year.
This is another important thing.
Like the first year we were living together, it was like we had a spot together, but we were hardly home together. Like it was like she would be out, she was always driving somewhere or doing something, doing events still. And, just like always busy. And I was busy too. I was traveling for work and, flying out places.
I would be gone before you even wake up sometimes.
Yeah.
Like I would be like,
and sometimes, and there would be days where you wouldn't even be sleeping there. Like it was like we were living together, but it wasn't full time. Like it wasn't
I think that
it was just a place for us to be able to like meet up and
our unit.
Yeah.
Of like, this is where like our home base that we were always going to come back.
Yeah.
Here.
So it's not like we moved in together and like we're living this like married couple life.
Yeah.
Like it was
Which I
very
think is
like
very not a
we
good
were
idea.
still very like had separate lives going on.
And I think that was like a really important part of our relationship in the beginning, because in the past, for me, like the number one thing that really stared me away from most relationship was like the guys were like trying to control me or like try to make me like their wife, and I'm like, that's not what I want, because they don't really even like you. So I'm like, I don't know if I really even like you as a person. And it was just more controlling. And like with Dorian, he was always so just like open and like was like, oh cool, you have that job, like that's awesome, like excited for me, or like
and that's
always
another
pushing me to like do more.
Yeah,
you're never trying to keep me in the house.
Yeah, that's a big
that
part.
Was the biggest thing.
Well, that's a big part of why I was interested in the first place too, that I didn't mention, is like we were both like entrepreneurial and like doing things, like have bigger goals, have a bigger vision than just like some basic shit. Like we're trying to do more, and you can't like try and restrain each other in any way if you have those kind of goals. Like you have to let each other do your thing and just like go out in the world, do what you got to do. Like I'm not here to control anybody or anything like that. So,
and that was like I think it was funny because for him, he was like, he wanted to get away from like white girls, and for me, it was like, I never want to date a Hispanic man again. So,
sometimes you got to get outside of your culture, outside of your box.
I think it's important. Like I think it was cool for both of us to bring in our own perspectives, and we learned from each other constantly.
For sure.
And that was like, I think why we have worked so well, especially that in the beginning, because he was never like intimidated of like, okay, she's doing this, or he knew like, hey, this week I might like literally be gone the whole week, and that next week he was gonna be gone from Monday to, let's say, Thursday or something, so we might not see each other at all, but we were like, okay, we're gonna make it work. We're always gonna come back here to our apartment. Yeah. And so like that first year and a half, really, when we were living together, I want to say like literally like 40% of the time together.
Yeah.
We were
it really was. It was not much. Like we were, if one of us wasn't doing something, the other one was like.
Yeah, there was times like that. It's like, hey, I'm gone, and like, oh damn, like that next.
And there was a couple like I would be like, there was some times I'd be gone for like 2 weeks straight.
Yeah, straight. Mm-hmm.
So. And then, it's, I guess that can kind of lead us into like the contrast of what the last couple of years have been like.
Now he can't get away from it. Which was so, I guess it's funny because back then I would be like, I would do anything to be with Dorian for like just a month straight. Like just anything, God, please. And now that I'm with him for a month straight, I'm like, God, I would do anything for us to have more space again.
Yeah.
I love you so much.
Yeah, I love you too.
Could hang out with him literally all day.
And we do.
But I think we even notice. I think it's very important in like a relationship to be very aware of it. And I think both of us even mentioned it. We're like, you know what? I think we worked better when we
worked better. We were happier, more energy when we were with each other. Like, it's important to have space.
Sometimes like, there's like this joke, or sometimes you see like on TikTok and stuff, like, oh, when you're out to dinner with your husband, significant other, whatever, of like, and you have nothing to talk about because you're with each other all day. And sometimes like we go through that. I'm like, we already talked about this enough.
Yeah.
I'm like, we don't need to repeat this conversation again. And because we like to have like our talks when we speak to her, we'll go all over the place, and they're like deep talks. And like we've had them all as of right now of like what's going on currently. So we were laughing and we're like, you know what? Like it's just important to like go back and forth and understand like when we had more space, we did work very well that way. And like what can we do now to like give each other more of that space again?
Yeah. Yeah, and a lot of it just has to do with like staying busy in general. And you know, especially the last year, like I wasn't traveling out, you know, I went independent. I wasn't traveling out to clients every week like I was. And you stopped doing events, so you weren't going out. Like, we're doing all our work from home, you know, on this 2020 type of vibe. Like, even though 2020, like I traveled probably the most.
Really, it was 2021.
But yeah, 21 was like, you know, when we really like jumped into the full like work from home life. I would travel not every week, but like every couple months.
Yeah.
And it, you know, it's just like it was different, and it's like the love is still there and we're still good, but there's definitely just it's harder. Like it's just like, I don't know, I just can't emphasize enough like how important it is to just be able to still like have the alone time and have different things going on from each other,
because you can just get really wrapped up in each other, which we got into that, or I was very much so like codependent with Dorian, and we've had these talks over and over again of like, okay, like we realized we have spent so much time together, and we were analyzing like our first half of our relationship. We were like, why was that so easy? And then we think back of like, oh, because we both had our own lives. And right now our lives are so blended, which is beautiful. That's fine. That's what you do in relationships. But I think it's important to like continue keeping something separate and like having your own projects, you know, and like doing your own things. Like with Dorian, he has the Shorty show, and you do that by yourself, like that's your thing. And Just Begin is pretty much like my thing, but you are helping me when it comes to like creative stuff, and we do work on this podcast together now, which is totally fine. I just another ways of that is like, and now we are both working side by side, and we realize that we hate that. Like, we're not going to do that anymore.
Yeah, I need my own room.
Like, he
for
needs
this.
to be by himself, and I need to be by myself, because when I work, I like to hear like a podcast or like a music, and he's like needs silence and like editing.
I need everyone to leave me the fuck alone.
Yeah.
Animals included. I got cats jumping on my shit, my dog just like up my ass, and it's like, bro, I just need my own space.
Like sometimes, literally, like sometimes we'll be sitting in here and we're like, our two cats are on each of our desks. So like one's on mine,
it's crazy.
One's on his. Marshall's in the middle, our dog, and we're like, I need to get the fuck out of here.
It's crazy.
There's too many beings in here. We need space, and I think we both were very independent people. Yeah, and that's why we were attracted to each other, and we've been so. I mean, codependent's on the right word, but we have been so much together where we're like kind of lost a little bit of like who we were in the beginning, and we're like we're bringing that back into our relationship.
For sure, we've learned a lot. We've learned what we like, what we don't like, and
Yeah.
how to go about just making things better, and just being aware of everything, and like being able to talk about it without like getting
Fighting.
upset about it. Like, it's good to have that, and that's another part of why I love you so much, because we can have these conversations, and it's not like, oh, you don't want to be around me. Like, it's not some petty shit. Like,
Yes.
like if you're acting like that, like, it's going to be really hard for you
Yeah.
to have a happy relationship, because nobody like, most guys, like, I don't know, like, you talk about the controlling guys, but I feel like, I don't know, maybe my circle is different, but it's like most guys that I know need their fucking space. Like, you can't be just like this all the time.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. Like you were saying, I think it's very important. I feel like before, I'm sure both of us, there was moments like back in the day when we were in other relationships where we were very like more immature or whatever, and that pettiness. But I feel like when you meet the person you want to be with, and you know, like, I want to be with this person, I don't want to mess anything up, like, you're gonna have to listen to each other in order to make it work, and be able to have like these uncomfortable conversations, and be able to like analyze, okay, like check in with each other of like, okay, I'm actually feeling this way about this, like, how can we change this and stuff. And like the main thing right now has been like, okay, how can we, like we just said, like, space, what can I do to give you more space, and like be understanding of each other. And I, like he was saying, like, don't be petty about it, like, oh, so you don't want to like spend time with me or whatever, which, like, I know that's not the case, because I have spent so much time with Dorian, and we've spent a lot of time together, which I like don't regret at all. Like,
No, me either.
What a lot of people were going through anyway. We weren't the only relationship that was going through that. And I think a lot of people, they either learned like, okay, me and this person cannot be together, and then there was a lot of breakups and that passed over the pandemic and everything, or people just like working from home. And with us, I'm grateful that we didn't break up, and because there was a lot of people that got divorced, broken up, and for us, we just have made it work, and we've had hard times.
It's not to say we haven't had problems. Like, we've had our conflicts or whatever, like little things that pop up, but we work through it. And
I wouldn't say we even fight that much, really.
No.
I think we rarely fight. If anything, we like bicker a little bit.
Yeah,
like,
it's just
little
like
things of like what you want to eat today.
Normal shit.
But
I just look at like I have a great example in my family that I've gotten to see my whole life, and in my grandparents who have been together for over 50 years and are super happy, but they just, they get in little arguments every day. Like, it's it's how
normal.
it is.
It's healthy, actually.
Yeah. And so I've been blessed, like, it's rare to even see that example. Like, it's, I don't know, it's a crazy world these days. And like, to find people who have been together for half a century and are still actually happy, like, they are, like, I genuinely know that they're happy. Like, they love each other, and there's nothing,
they joke.
There's nothing that anyone could do to stop it. Like, it's just like, so I'm thankful for that, for sure. And they've been a great example just to me on, how to like achieve that, I guess. And I'm nowhere near their amount of time together, but I don't know. It's been a blessing.
Yeah. And I think the best thing that we can advice I could give Dorian too is just to like be communicative always with your partner about what you're feeling and what's going on. And obviously I think that has to go both ways, because if you're the only one communicating how you feel and the other person's like not at all, I think that there's obviously like something there of like, okay, maybe they're just not on the same page as you, and then you like have those check-ins. But for us, we're obviously in a different phase of that. We know each other completely, fully, and I can tell when Dorian is like feeling something. I already know. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna give him some space and stuff. Like I know, and he's more like, I feel like your personality trait is more so of like being more like, I wouldn't say like over. I'm very overexpressive. I will tell you how I feel. Dorian, on the other hand, won't tell you how he feels right away, but he will just bottle it in until a moment, like a fuse, and then he'll like, burst into the emotions. And I'm like, for me, I'm like, I could be crying 1 second and laughing, and I'm like, I'm all over the place. So that's why we're like we're very alike, but then completely opposites emotionally.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Of how we express emotions.
No, that's for sure.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's how I've always been. I try and keep it as steady as I can until I can't. And then it's like, yeah, and you're right about that.
Yeah. But I think it's important to like know what your partner, how they express their emotions, and also like, the love languages. Which I learned about that like a year into our relationship, and I was like, oh, what's our love language? And I was like, oh, mine's like physical touch and all these other ones. And like with Dorian, I guess like I think your love language was definitely not physical touch, even though it's a form of it. I'm like hug me all the time, like, and then with him, he rather like he needs space. Like, don't touch him all the time. You're more so like, I wouldn't say like acts of service and like the communication. I'm sorry, I'm like butchering the love languages, but
I don't know enough about him to really speak on it like that.
but maybe we should do the test again. But I know your love language. For him, it's more like communicating and like, oh, I made you a cup of coffee. Like I do that. I do little things for you, rather than. I mean, I touch you all the time, but I know when to give you space. What do you think my love language is?
You just talked about it. What do you mean?
Yeah, but
I mean,
like,
touch is probably above everything, I guess. At night, it's like, like.
Give me space. And all of our animals' love language is touch too.
Yeah, they all follow after her in that way.
They mimic me. But
it's wild out here. We just everywhere I go, I have 4 beings just following me around.
It's like we'll make a joke of like Dorian's like the sun, and everyone's like orbiting around.
It's not my intention.
Because we all just like want to, hey, what's up, and bother you. But we're going, I guess, space. We're going to have more space with each other and things. And I've been wanting that too. So it doesn't mean that I like love him less. Just means I love him so much.
It's just that we recognize the importance and just are observant of like trends of how we're feeling and how things are going throughout the whole journey of it.
Because I think it's like a lot of people like be in a relationship, and then if their partner acts completely different one day or something, it's like they don't care about me anymore. Like they don't love me. Like it's so weird. But I think since I've been with Dorian, like when you're in a relationship, like you're constantly like changing as a person, and like the way we do things and like how we want to show the other love, like it's constantly like changing. And like it's interesting to like learn that too, of like, okay, like, this is how relationships are, like not what movies say of like it's always going to be like this, but it's not. And I know I want to be with Dorian forever, so I know like we're going to go through these like different routes and paths.
Yeah, you can't have like
we can't be like
you can't have expectations. Yeah, you can't have you got like have expectations for each other in a sense, but like you can't like if something doesn't go exactly how you think it's going to go, or they're not acting like how you expect them to act every day. Like, you can't have these like concrete expectations, because that's just like, that's going to set you up for failure.
Yeah. Self-sabotage.
Yeah.
For sure.
Like, obviously have a goal in mind and have like, you know, be as loving and as caring and like, I don't know what I'm trying to say here, like, feed your partner's needs as much as possible, but like, you can't burden your
like,
person
it's not
with
always gonna be.
Yeah, you can't burden your person with like these expectations that are just like unrealistic for anybody, really.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know.
Because that's what a lot for, I mean, like, I want to say my perspective, like, as a woman, like, we're taught a lot of, like, this is how a relationship should be, like, this is how it has to be, and like certain things like are always pressured on us. And so there's different things are like, oh, like, he didn't, you know, I probably like, oh, he didn't text me back, you know, like, or he hasn't texted me when he's been out, like, what's gonna happen? Is he like talking? Like, you'll go and spiral. But I think you have to not let yourself do that. And definitely in the
But then you get to know each other, and it's like, I don't text anyone very well. And like, I stay super present in the moment, and I just like, and you know, like that every once in a while she'll like get, you know, she'll get her just like a little annoyed with me about not texting her or something. And it's just like, yo, like, I'm just,
the only thing I get annoyed about is I just want to know you're good. And since he goes out with like Shorty and the guys, and he'll stay over there late, I'm just like, I just want to know you're good. Like, just let me know what you're doing. Just check in on me.
Yeah, sometimes I'm just in my own world.
Yeah. which I know he's like this. So that's why I'm like, I know he literally hasn't even looked at his phone for probably like 3 hours. Hasn't even thought about letting me know what's up, because he's so present, which is awesome. But sometimes I'm like, just shoot me a text when you're gone. But whatever. That was another little,
and that's, I mean,
thing, but we got through it, and we know, and we're aware.
And I credit her for not like, like, we've had little arguments about it, but I credit her for not being like some of these crazy ass girls out here that if you don't text them back within like 20 minutes or even shorter, it's like they are just making assumptions. And like, you know, it's just like, there's no reason for that. Like, I understand people have trust issues, and like, you may have had like, you know, a bad partner that was going out and doing shady shit, but it's like, if you actually like, trust is important. And you know, to me, it's like, you know me,
I think it's the most
you know how I am,
yeah.
And it's like, you gotta just let me do me.
I just know Dorian's. I know, on our first date, I know he can't. You're not just running, going up to a girl.
No, I'm not good with that shit. It was, you know, we had a good talk and everything on our first date, but it was not like,
it's not,
I'm not the smoothest, all right? It's never really been my thing.
I know. But you are smooth. You are. Once you get to know him.
Yeah, it takes me a minute to get comfortable with people.
Yeah.
So if you've met me out in the world, and you feel like I'm an asshole or something because of the way I was the first time I met you, it's just kind of how I am, man. I don't know, like, it's like, sorry, but it takes me a minute. I gotta build some rapport and some trust with you before I like open up in any way. And
I'm like, let me just tell you my whole life story. And let's just like talk about astrology, and like, oh my God, we're so aligned. But I think it's good though, because we like learn back and forth from each other, and like, sometimes I should be a little more like him, and he has to be a little more open like me. So yeah, that's a process. Yeah, and to like kind of like wrap a little everything up is like, you know, being communicative, trust your partner, and to understand that your relationships are always going to go through like different like a roller coaster, like different paths and little avenues. Maybe roller coaster is not the right word because it's not so crazy ups and lows. It's more like, you know, a little trail, a bike trail.
A bike trail.
And you're gonna go through little things like maybe dirt in one end.
You might fall off the bike.
You might fall off. I don't know. There's little things, but a bike trail. I don't know where the fuck I thought of that.
It's a crazy analogy, but we'll roll with it.
we'll roll with it. Anyways,
bars.
Yeah. So that's like my advice to wrap everything up. Obviously we're not relationship experts. We're just telling you what our experience.
Yeah, it's just our experience
and what we've observed in being in a relationship with each other for almost 4 years now. And yeah, I love you.
I love you too.
And thank you all for listening. I hope you got some good takeaways from here. And please make sure to leave a review, to subscribe, do all the things. And thank you so much for listening.
And make sure you check out all of the Just Begin magazines that are available that she has spent so much time on. Go read them.
You see me in like
she has spent so much time. Like, go read them.
Thank you.
Now.